Hey guys, welcome back. Charles Damiano here from the Bruce Lee Collection for another exciting episode. On this episode, I'll be displaying and discussing 20 of my top pre-death Bruce Lee collectibles that I shared with Alex Richter, aka the Kung Fu Genius, on his podcast a couple of years ago. And the reason I like to repost this interview is because Alex and I had a discussion the other day about doing a part 2 to this incredible podcast we put together a few years ago. And we're going to be doing that in the next few weeks. And I thought it'd be great for you guys to familiarize yourself what we already discussed about Bruce Lee collecting, and my top 20 pre-death Bruce Lee items. But what I did is I enhanced the podcast by adding additional photos, footage on Bruce Lee, some really great music, and I took nice pictures of my collectibles so you can see them up front as we're discussing all these beautiful pre-death Bruce Lee collectibles. So for now, sit back and enjoy the enhanced podcast of my top 20 Bruce Lee collectibles. Enjoy, guys.
Hey everyone, it's the Kung Fu Genius, aka Alex Richter. And if you're watching us on YouTube, of course, if you like what I do here, don't forget to subscribe to the Kung Fu Genius and hit that bell for notifications. And with that, let's get started.
Alright peeps, on today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be talking to his good friend and Bruce Lee collector, Charles Damiano. Lots of gems, lots of yellow tracksuits, and lots of, yo, let's go use Bruce Lee's credit card number to buy some pants! Let's get to it!
He is unstoppable, unbeatable, unbelievable. He's Alex Richter, the Kung Fu Genius.
And every day, I practice martial arts.
Watch out!
Word is, I'm a Kung Fu Genius. Practiced all day like a genius.
Hey Charles, how you doing, man?
What's up, Alex? I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, super cool to have you here. So, I have never done an episode about collecting, about Bruce Lee collectibles. So I'm super excited about this because although I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan, this is all kind of new to me. So
I hear you.
So you're kind of the man to talk to. Now, you have a YouTube channel where you kind of talk about this stuff. Can you tell our audience real quick about your YouTube channel?
Sure, I'd love to give you a little background on that. So yeah, I've been collecting Bruce Lee memorabilia since 1973 after seeing a bunch of the Bruce Lee movies, back in the early days, like most of us. And, I started collecting all this memorabilia, and I have like 5,000 items sitting in my basement in my man cave. And I'm like, man, I'd like to share this with people. So about 3 years ago, I gave this idea to my son, and I said, I want to start the Charles Damiano Bruce Lee Collection YouTube channel. And he goes, what a great idea. And I said, I'll always have content because I have 5,000 items and I could show one item a week.
Sure.
It'll take me years before I get through all my items. So I started doing that. It started picking up traction. And now I have this channel, and I have over 7,000 subscribers in the last 2.5 years. And I featured numerous collectors from around the world. I met hundreds of people that are into Bruce Lee collecting, and I made a lot of friends, which is so cool, and I feature them now on the show, and it's just so cool to be able to do something now that you love, that you have a collection on, and you can share it with others. So it's really cool.
So, and you also did some martial arts too as well, right? Can you talk real quick a little bit about some of the martial arts you did?
Yeah. So like most of us, I was so inspired by Bruce Lee when I was 13, 14 years old. I wanted to find out what he studied. So in the early days, in 74, 75, I was looking for some Wing Chun schools, and I started out like most of us in Taekwondo, because I couldn't find a Wing Chun school, and after I found out he studied Wing Chun, I wanted to follow in his footsteps. So but I started with Taekwondo. I figured, let me get the kicks down, because Bruce had some great kicks, and in the days no one knew what his style was. So it must be Taekwondo, it must be Hapkido, because he has such great kicks. So I started in Richard Chun's school and did a little Taekwondo, but after 6 months it was just too traditional. I didn't like the gi. It was just, it didn't look like the movie stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to get out of here. It's not for me. me.
Sure.
So I went looking for a Wing Chun, and I found Duncan Leung, who came from Hong Kong at the time. And really quick story, I went in there with my cousin. We must have been 15 years old, and I see this Chinese guy, and he just came from Hong Kong, and literally the school was just cinder block. He was in a basement. He had a desk. You walk in, and downstairs was just a basement. It was all unfinished cinder block.
Right.
And we were pretty built at the time because Pump and Iron just came out. We were lifting weights, and he looked at us, and my cousin was even more built than me. And he goes, looks at my cousin, he goes, "Forget about the weightlifting." And my cousin goes, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, let me show you." And he puts his hand on my cousin's chest, like to do a 1-inch punch. And my cousin's like maybe 15, 16 at the time. And Duncan just does this like little twitch. And my cousin goes flying back in the wall, and he goes, "Wow, that's some power there." And his chest hurt inside for about a week.
Right.
And after that, we like immediately joined school. That was his way of getting us to join the school.
Right.
And I loved it, and I was with him maybe 2-3 years, and then he moved on, and I studied with Alan Lamb, who you said you know, right?
Yes.
And I did that for about 2 years, and then when he moved, I think, to California, I found Sifu Chow on 23rd in Lexington.
Right.
And I studied with him for another couple of years. So I got through maybe 7 years of Wing Chun. And
that's great.
My favorite part of it was the Chi Sao, man. I love Chi Sao.
Sure.
Love to
Definitely.
do it in the yellow suit because you're looking pretty cool there.
Well, yeah, speaking of the yellow suit, so although I'm a Bruce Lee fan, I don't really have like a lot of collectible stuff. I got some stuff.
Yep.
But I thought like I needed to kind of represent on the. I mean, I know you're coming and you're bringing some real stuff, so I decided that I'd bring my yellow tracksuit, which is my kind of my Halloween costume year to year. My daughters are getting kind of sick of it, so yeah.
Well, I love it, man, and you look great in it. Not many people could pull off the yellow tracksuit, and you're doing pretty good in it, man.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, also, obviously, we're showing it from the waist up because it's not the easiest costume to walk around in. I'll put it to you that way. So. You've been collecting these things. Now, before we get started, so everyone kind of has a story about, like, the first time they saw Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. So what's the Charles Damiano story about how you first saw Bruce Lee?
Well, in a nutshell, I guess the first time I saw him was in the Green Hornet in '66, but I was so young. I was maybe 7 years old in '66, so I didn't really understand what I was seeing. I just loved what I saw on screen. Mm-hmm. But what really captivated me is when I saw him, in '73, when I heard that this Asian guy was coming from Hong Kong and these incredible martial art movies were going to come out, and I was 13 years old, and I was like, really? Who's this guy? And they'll go, his name is Bruce Lee. Wait till you see him. He's a sensation in Hong Kong. And I saw the first movie, Fists of Fury, and I went in there with my friends, and I was just floored.
Right.
I mean, after seeing him on screen,
Sure.
and he was good looking, he was muscular, he was fast, and I never seen anything like that. It just blew my socks off, and since then I just never looked back. And then when Enter the Dragon came out later that year in '73, I was just that just did it for me. That sealed the deal.
Yeah, sure.
Been a fan and collector ever since.
Incredible. I think some of our younger audience might not know that in America, the original titles of his first 3 movies are actually different than what the actual titles were. Because a moment ago, you called it Fists of Fury, and I think most people would know that one now as Big Boss. It's funny because lately they've been going back to using the original names, but I remember when I grew up, Big Boss was Fists of Fury, Fists of Fury was Chinese Connection, and Way the Dragon was Return of the Dragon, right?
Yes.
Do you know a little bit about... I know the Return of the Dragon because that obviously they released it after Bruce Lee had passed. Mm-hmm. They wanted to maybe kind of sell it as a bit of a sequel or something.
Yeah.
But do you know anything about the story about why those first 2 movies, why they had kind of switched those titles around?
Well, everyone gets confused with Fist of Fury. It's not really Fist of Fury. In the United States, it came out as Fists with an S of Fury. So that's different than Fist of Fury,
Got it.
which represented the Chinese Connection in the United States.
Got it.
So Fists with an S
Okay.
of Fury was the Big Boss in Hong Kong.
Right. That's not confusing at all.
I know. And people always argue with me online. They're like,
Right.
it's Fists of Fury. I go, no, it's Fists. I have the movie poster. I'll show you the movie poster. It
Right.
says Fists, Fists
Got
of
it.
Fury, which is the Big Boss, right? And
Got
then, Fist of Fury was Chinese Connection, released here in the United States, and then,
Right.
as you said, Way of the Dragon was
Yeah.
Bruce Lee's, film that he produced and directed, and that was his
Right.
baby.
Yes.
And it was originally going to be called Enter the Dragon.
Right, that's correct.
Because he wanted it to see the world, that he wanted the world to see him as, here comes Bruce Lee. He's the dragon. He's entering the United States, right, for the first time, if
Right.
it got shown here. So
Yeah.
here comes Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. And then
Yes.
they changed the name because they released it after he passed. So
Right.
they changed the title from Way
Yeah.
of the Dragon, which they put out in Hong Kong, which should have been Enter the Dragon,
Right.
to Return of
Got
the
it.
Dragon. Yeah, but it is confusing when you hear all the names.
Yeah, I heard that they changed it to Chinese Connection here in the States to make it sound more like the French Connection, which was a popular film. at the
Exactly.
time,
Yeah, and they weren't sure how it was going to take, so they figured they'd play off the French Connection,
Right.
which was very popular with Gene Hackman. And,
Yeah.
But I don't think Bruce needed to, fool
Not at that
anyone. I
point.
just think when you saw him go into the Japanese school for the first time, I think
Yeah.
people were just mesmerized.
Absolutely. And what is your favorite of all of his films?
My favorite is Enter the Dragon, and I say it all the time. I just love the production quality and
Yeah.
just the way he looked, and
Yeah.
it's the quality of that film was just a
Sure.
step above all the others.
Right.
Although I love Chinese Connection and
Yeah.
Return of the Dragon, just something with Enter the Dragon. Just I love the
Yeah.
outfits he wore and the way he looked in that film.
Right,
It just,
right. Yeah, even though obviously the film is shot in Hong Kong, but yeah, you're right. It has a kind of more Hollywood feel. It's got a
Yes.
bigger budget feel, and his other films are definitely very much more like Chinese movies, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So you brought some stuff here to talk about. I'm super excited about this because you showed me some of this stuff before we started recording today, and some cool stuff here. So I realize you have kind of an order, maybe somewhat chronological. So why don't we go through the first few things you got here?
Yeah, I'll take you through some of the early stuff first, and it was really tough when I knew I was going to be on your show, and when I called you and said, "Hey, why don't we do a collectibles show?" and you were excited about the idea, I was really excited about that. And last night I was in my basement. As I told you, I have like 5,000 items. So I'm
Wow.
going through drawers. I'm like, what 20 items can I bring over Alex's so it doesn't get too overwhelming?
Sure.
So I kind of brought some of my early stuff, and when you're collecting, some of the more pre-death items are valued more, and based on the condition, if they're in really mint condition, they're even worth more money.
Sure.
So I brought some of the pre-death items, some of the items that came out in the early 60s, mid 60s, before he passed away.
Right.
And I'll start with that, and obviously, the first things that came out on Bruce Lee were Green Hornet items, right?
Right.
Because he made the Green Hornet, and some of the early items that I picked up as a kid were big back then, were the Topps, baseball cards,
Oh,
right? So
yes,
then
yes,
Topps
yes.
came out with a 44 card set on the Green Hornet.
Wow.
Which was really popular, and they packaged these with the bubblegum wrap.
I was
going
going to say, do they come with bubble gum?
In the same way.
Do you still have the bubble gum? by the way?
I wish I had the original packages. I don't any
Right,
longer.
right.
And if you have those still sealed, they're worth a lot of money.
Sure.
But I have this set. It's 44 cards in all. And if, you turn it around, you could actually make a puzzle, a big puzzle. The backs are a puzzle. And you could make a giant puzzle of Bruce Lee from the Green Hornet when you put
Wow.
all the cards together. So they made it really fun and cool for kids. And these came out in '66. And this is in mint condition. This can go anywhere from $600 to $1,000 at this time. It's a
Wow.
very, very rare item, and it's a fun collectible to have. And then the other thing, even more rare, are these stickers, because in the heyday, it's the same 44 card set, and Topps put them out in '66, but they were stickers. So what kids did back in the mid '60s is they peeled them off and they put them all over their school books. So
Right.
it's really hard to find these now because they're all on people's books and
Sure.
they threw them out. So to get
people didn't think they were going to be worth anything
exactly
back then. Right.
So to get a whole set like this in mint condition is rather rare, very rare, and there's 44 in here also, and I was fortunate to have these, and these are even more money. I mean, I've seen these go online for $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 for the complete set. So very, very rare item. And then the last fun item I bought from the Green Hornet time was the first TV guide that he was on. Do you remember this?
So I don't remember. Well, one, I know of it. I was born in '77.
Okay. So this was a little before your time.
It was a little before my
Okay.
time. I still remember TV guides. Well, our new artists might be like, "What is a TV guide?"
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe we should explain that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but doesn't the TV have its own guide nowadays? No, kids. Back in the day, you had to get a little magazine that came every week.
Yes.
That told you when stuff was going to be on TV because you couldn't decide when you were going to watch it. Right?
Exactly.
And so TV Guide was always a big deal, like who was on the cover and all that. And so this is obviously Van Williams and Bruce Lee
Yep.
for Green Hornet. What's the date on that?
So this is the date here is October 29th through November 4th is when they put this out in '66.
Wow.
So this was when the series started in October. They made 26 episodes, and that was the first time he actually appeared on the cover of TV Guide, which was a big deal.
Yeah.
Back then to make the cover of TV Guide, and this
Right.
was the holy grail back then. When you got your TV Guide, it, like you said, it told you what was playing on
Sure.
TV for the whole week.
Right.
So some of the other fun ones that I picked up along the way was, when he did the Longstreet series in 1971, and that James Franciscus was the star of that show with Bruce, but Bruce really took over the show back then. You remember the Longstreet?
I do. Was there another TV Guide with Bruce and James Franciscus?
Well, he wasn't on the cover. James Franciscus was on the cover, but then when you open it up, there's a little picture of Bruce inside,
Wow.
and it lists the time that Longstreet was on, and the
Wow.
first episode, The Way of the Intercepting Fist, which was his kind of breakthrough episode,
Yeah,
which is just
yeah.
amazing. But yeah, the TV Guides were fun, and this is what you used to flip through your stations as
That's
a kid.
right, that's
You
right.
watched 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11. Those are the stations you could pick from.
Yep.
Not
that
like
was it.
now.
Yeah.
Where there's hundreds of stations to choose from.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what else you got here?
So from the Green Hornet, I wanted to bring some other pre-death items. So when I started learning Wing Chun, the big talk of the town was to try to find Bruce Lee's first book that he wrote, and I didn't even know he wrote a book back then. I was 15, 16 years old when I was studying with Duncan Leung, and so I went to Chinatown at first, and I saw it there in Boucle Tech at the time, which was a famous store.
BLT.
Which everyone bought their Bruce Lee memorabilia and kung fu uniforms.
But back
and
in the
shirts
day
from.
when they were still in Canal Street, right?
Yes.
Where they had the big sign with Bruce and Chuck at the top.
Yeah, that was
That's
so
even
cool.
before my time. I mean, BLT later they were on Mulberry Street, but people always tell me about when they were on Canal Street and they had that storefront with the Bruce Lee and the
it
Chuck
was incredible.
Norris.
Yeah, they had the big scene of Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. It was up there for years, so
Yeah.
everyone would love to go there. But I found the book, and I thought I got the original book, and only later on in life I realized it was the first copies that came out. Cause they
Right.
printed,
It was, I think, O'Hara, like from Mito Yahara, reprinted that book, right?
So they reprinted them, and they were copies. So I bought like 5 or 6 of them because I thought it was the original. But then later on in life, as I was collecting, I found the original copy,
Wow.
which he only printed 500 of these, and it's called Chinese Kung Fu: The Philosophical Art of Self-Defense. And James Lee, helped them put this together at the time because James Lee already put out books. And so this was like the holy grail to find this book. And back in the day, it was selling for $1,000 to $1,500, in really good condition. Mine has a little scribbling on it. Somebody who owned it did a lot of doodling, as you can see inside here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of writing in it. But I was still just really excited to own this because it came out in 1963, and it was Bruce's first introduction to kind of putting his philosophy on paper and what he was studying at the time, which
Taki
is
Kimura and Jesse Glover and
Yep.
James DeMille, all those guys are in that book.
Yep, yeah, they're all in here,
Yeah.
and they kind of talk about him in here. So this is a really cool
Now,
book. and-
I also have, but obviously I have like the O'Hara reprint or whatever. But you had mentioned that this had an advertisement in the back in the original printing.
Yeah, so what makes these unique is that people say, "How do you know you have an original?" So there's a few things. Like, it's a square back, okay, and it says on the back it says Chinese Kung Fu: The Philosophical Art of Self-Defense. So that's one way you could tell it's an original. The second is they stapled these back then.
Wow.
The newer ones are glued, so you don't see staples.
Sure,
So
sure.
these you see staples. So he printed 500, and then I heard there was another 500 batch. So there was a total of 1,000 that were originally printed. Half of them got destroyed. You could see the condition. It's really hard to find these in mint condition. And then in the back, which gives it its authenticity, is that they came out with a lot of ads that Bruce Lee was putting out at the time, and it lists all the different books on Kung Fu and Karate and Judo that were out at the
incredible.
time. But there's an ad in here that I found really interesting. It says, "The Tao of Kung Fu, a study on the way of Chinese martial art. An essay by Bruce Lee," and he was selling it for $2.
That's incredible.
And isn't that great? His way of earning some money, right?
Yeah,
he was
sure.
23 years old, and
Yeah.
back then in the 60s, mail order was big. Remember
Yeah.
Bob Hoffman's barbell set, and you
Sure.
could buy all these courses that taught you how to train for like $5,
And
you
even
mail
in
it
comic books, back
Yeah.
in comic books had things you mail ordered. Yeah, absolutely.
So so those are some of the key points that really tell you this is an original book. Again, whether it was the first 500 or the second 500, I'm not quite sure, but
Sure.
it's an original copy of.
Wow, but how enterprising. I mean, like, think about it. He's like, what, in his early 20s at this time, he writes a book, and he has this idea to write an essay and sell it as mail order in the back and have other ads. I mean, like, Bruce Lee's really remarkable for a couple of things. Well, first of all, you think he passed away 48 years ago,
Yep.
and we still talk about him, and there's still new things to talk about. And the other thing is that in that short 32 years he was alive, not only did he manage to do so much in his training, even in writing a couple books and writing letters and making all these great films, he's also, in my opinion, or in my estimation, one of the most photographed people ever. Because it's not like now, like, you know, I have 10,000 photos on my phone, and, you know, 8,000 of them are of my daughters, right? It's not easy to take photos
Exactly.
now. But back in the day, cameras, film, you had to get it developed. But it seems that almost through every period of his life, he was being photographed pretty regularly, which was not really that common. I mean, even I grew up in the 80s, and there's photos of me there, but not nearly as much as there were of Bruce Lee growing up, even in Hong Kong in those days. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. You know, I heard that Bruce actually had a photographer around all the time, and that he actually made sure that the pictures that were snapped of him were the right look, the right pose. You ever notice how great he looks in every one of his
It's
pictures?
amazing, so photogenic.
It's like you can't find a bad shot on
Yeah.
him. Everyone you look at looks better than
Yeah.
and I think he really hand selected those shots. I mean, and he made sure the cameramen knew that when they were taking shots of him, he wanted certain poses because he looks great. And you're right, though. I mean, the amount of photographs that are on the guy, it's just incredible.
Because you're a collector, I'm a Bruce Lee geek. I've seen so many photos, but still, every now and again, I'm like, I never saw that photo before. I've never seen that before, right? Incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
amazing.
there's a collector on online. He has a YouTube channel as well. His name is Jesus Bajo. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah,
He's out of
he has the
Spain.
videos. Yeah.
And he finds photographers who took pictures of Bruce, and he manages to get these photos. And on his site, he shows continuous photo collections of Bruce Lee. And I email him. I say, Jesus, where do you get these? And he goes, I just find them. He's been collecting like 40 years now, 50 years. And
That's
he just,
incredible.
More photos I've ever seen in my life on Bruce Lee. You're right, though.
His YouTube channel, he'll do like there'll be like some Golden Harvest shoot for the celebration of some movie, and then he'll just show like all the photos from that one thing.
From that one thing.
In a video. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
It's remarkable how, like you said, how photographed Bruce was.
Yeah, and I think also maybe for our audience, like obviously a lot of Kung Fu Genius fans are into like the Wing Chun and the martial arts and stuff like that. But like even within Bruce Lee as a subject, it's like you have people who are into the martial art of Jeet Kune Do, people who are into his movies, people who are into collectibles. There's so many like subcategories of things about Bruce Lee you can get into.
Yeah.
That it's like this never-ending deep dive into like, you know, sometimes I get like really deep into his notes and the stuff that he wrote in Chinese, and then like for weeks I'll just be like into that whole rabbit hole, and he's like infinitely fascinating. So what else do you have here?
Yeah, so the other item I have that I think you're going to find interesting is, since you have your own Wing Chun school, is the membership cards that he was giving out back in the days, in the Oakland days, and, when he was in California. They had different membership cards in different schools, and that's what he used to give out and sign the card to his students when they joined the school, and it used to list the days that they'd be attending the class, and he would sign under where it says president. And what does it say on the card, since you
it's Zhen Fan Guok Sut Gun, which is basically Zhen Fan is his name. Guok Sut means national arts, which is a euphemism for Chinese martial arts. Like there are a few different ways that in Chinese you can say martial arts, and Guok Sut is one of them. It literally means national arts or national art. And then Gun means like school or institute or dwelling or place. So obviously this is probably, we also have a lot of podcast listeners who listen only on audio, so this is probably, spoiler alert, this is probably officially the worst episode to listen to on audio only. So for those of you who are listening on audio, I would highly recommend you just go over to YouTube and watch this one. It's definitely worth it. I'll put some screen captures up there later, but here our audience can see this one as well. So this was the membership card, and I've seen a few of these in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum. They have an ongoing Bruce Lee collection there right now.
Yes.
And every year when I go to Hong Kong and bring my students, I bring them there. And what's interesting is they update the collection pretty regularly. And so I've seen a couple of the different membership cards and business cards. And when I see stuff like that, I get goosebumps because, again, Bruce is in his early 20s. He's like, this is like so organized to have these cards and all these kind of things. I mean, what an incredibly hardworking person Bruce Lee was. It's really incredible.
Yeah, no, it really was. When you collect for so many years, you get to a point where you want to start focusing on quality rather than quantity. And after, I hit the 3, 4, 5,000 mark of how many books and magazines can you buy on Bruce Lee, and posters and slides and movies and DVDs. So, what I wanted to do later on is try to find some original, personal items on Bruce Lee. Imagine owning his nunchucks or his yellow tracksuit, which no one can find, right? Or the black
I might have
suit.
it. I might
there
have
we go. Maybe that's the one you're wearing. But so I started looking for autographs, and I found a couple of Bruce Lee autographs because I wanted something that was personal that he wrote out. So I'm going to show you some of the autographs that I found along the way. 2 that I'm really proud of. I have actually 3 autographs on Bruce Lee, but these 2 really stand out. So this one is an original autograph that I purchased from the Heather Holmberg auctions at the time. In '93, the Lee estate was auctioning off a lot of Bruce's personal items.
Yeah, so I think maybe, 'cause like a lot of the collecting stuff's going to be new for our audience. So this 1993 auction was a big deal because it was really like the Lee estate was kind of just purging all that stuff out there. So a lot of people who have personal Bruce Lee effects, like it probably originally, if it didn't come directly from that 93 auction, they probably got it from someone who got it at that auction, right?
Yes. So that's when the first time you saw a lot of his personal items, right? So this was the catalog they put out, and in the catalog is everything from his black cat suit in Enter the Dragon to the blue kung fu uniform that he wore in Enter the Dragon, the brown one.
Were any of his the nunchucks were there?
Yeah.
Which nunchucks did
the
they
ones from Enter the Dragon, the black nunchucks are in here.
And they were rubber, actually, I heard, right?
Some of them were rubber, and some of them were not. And
maybe for the close-up shots, he had like a real pair, but when he was whipping around, they were pretty soft.
And then remember, this is Chief Aim in Life that
Definite
he wrote
Chief
out.
Aim,
so they were auctioning off. For
which is from the book Think and Grow Rich. That's the whole exercise, right?
If you read that book, almost word for word,
it's the template.
It's the template for his chief aim.
Yeah, you have to write what you're going to do, and you have to write what you're willing to do to get
it, and a date as to when you're going to, and that you want to have it.
That was the big Dale Carnegie, I think it was Dale Carnegie who wrote that book, right?
Yes.
That was the whole template about how you basically kind of design yourself to be successful.
And Bruce was into a lot of improvement books back in the day, right? He had them all, so that's kind of. But this auction house, man, when you saw all his personal items,
they had that awesome leather jacket,
the leather jacket,
man, I want that leather jacket.
Yeah, with the white and the black and red, and there was just such great. His leather coat that he was practicing with Jim Kelly and the Garden. There was just some his glasses.
Look at that! Wow.
There was just some incredible items. His dart from Kato in this magazine, and just to get anything at that time was just incredible. So I was able to put a bid in on this autograph, and it says, "To Betty, best wishes from your friend Bruce Lee." It's a beautiful handwriting, and it has his Chinese signature, and then he signed it.
Dragon underneath,
and then he signed it Kato. So it was more than just his autograph. So I was really fortunate to get this. Now, at first, I lost the bid.
When you bid on that, now obviously these are in the pre-internet days. Did you actually have to physically go there?
Well, I couldn't because I believe it was in California at the time. So
Would you phone it in, or how does that work?
You could either phone it in, or you can send in a mail order with your bids. So they give you auction bids in here, and you could mail them, put them in the envelope, and send it in.
So this catalog came out first, and then how did you get? How were they advertising this catalog? How did they let people know about it?
I think it was in the Black Belt magazines and the Inside Kung Fu magazines at the time, and then you heard that this was going to be happening in '93. It came out August of '93, and so I won this autograph, which is. Interesting, and then everyone always asks me who Betty is on there.
Right, because it's suspiciously the name of another notorious person in Bruce Lee's life, right?
Exactly.
But we talked about it because you asked me, you kind of gave me the test, right?
Yes.
And I said, well, one, it's written in English, so it doesn't make sense if he. Well, why would he be signing an autograph to his mistress? Would be kind of weird, right?
Exactly.
But even if he were, he wouldn't write it in English, and 2, he also wouldn't put Kato underneath because. At that point, he's not known as Kato anymore, right? So, but you have an interesting story about how this came about. I would love to hear this one.
Yeah, so I did an episode on my autographs recently with my friend Hector Martinez, and after the show aired, I had somebody email me, and he said, "Hey, Charles, my name is Jim, and I really excited to see the autograph. That was my mom's autograph, and her name was Betty." And I'm like,
had his mom passed on? Did he say, or
she did pass on. Yeah. So he goes, "If you ever want to ask me anything about it and learn the history behind it, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have." So I emailed him back. I said, "Oh, great to meet you. I said, when did your mom get
And he
it?
saw that on your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Wow, what a random like stroke of luck, right?
I know. And then I also have it on my eBay as with a sale price, a ridiculous, because I really don't want to sell it. But I think he's seen it there also. So
Okay.
He found it, and then he said that he remembers when he gave it off to auction. So obviously he must have gave it to the auction house at the time to auction it off as part of the Heather Holmberg auctions. And he said that belonged to my mom. And I said, well, when and where did Bruce give it to you? And he said it was in Riverside Park in Agawam, Massachusetts, and he said Bruce was there doing an appearance for the Green Hornet at a local amusement park. And he stayed in the hotel that his uncle owned, and his mom worked at that hotel with the uncle.
Wow.
And so when they went to see Bruce give a demonstration, they went up to him, and Bruce was kind enough to give her the autograph. They said they saw him do the demonstration, and they described him, and they said that he was extremely friendly, and he was amazing in person when he saw him. So I just thought that was an interesting to add some story to the autograph.
Incredible.
Yeah, and I always wanted to know who Betty was, and now I realize it was someone he met at the amusement park where he was, on tour for the Green Hornet at the time, which makes sense as to why he signed it as Kato.
Sure, yeah, because he's promoting that at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, at the time he's making Enter the Dragon and all those films, he wouldn't have put Kato on the bottom of his signature.
Yeah.
You said you had two other ones as well. What? Even if you didn't bring them, but where are they from? Or maybe you have brought
Yeah, so I brought one. So I don't know if you've seen these. So these came out in the day when the Lee estate got all Bruce's credit card receipts and checks at the time, and Randy Wong was the distributor. He was working for the Lee family, and they were putting these out in the 90s as well, and they were only selling 2 per family because they were rare.
Yes.
So I bought 2 at the time, and this is one of them. I actually sold one number of years ago for like $3,500, and I go, I have 2. I have a buy that's going to pay me a really great price for a credit card receipt. And now I wish I didn't sell it because, it's so hard letting go of a Lee autograph.
Sure.
But this one's interesting because it shows here, it was from January 28 of 1972.
Okay.
And he bought pants, and it says it came from a sports shop. So it maybe he was buying sweats, right? What was he doing in 72? He was making...
that's January of 72.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's interesting. He may... Yeah, I mean, he was probably back in the States at that time.
Right? Maybe he went to some sports shop. Maybe he bought a pair of sweats, or because it says sports, so he had to buy either some kind of sweats or.
Well, it's interesting to see the credit card imprint, right? And the credit cards back then didn't have as many numbers as the credit cards now, so you can't use it if you try. No one can steal Bruce Lee's credit card number and try to order something online. It expired in May of 72. Yeah, and then it has Bruce J.F. Lee for John Fan, right? Yeah.
And then if you look at the back,
Fred Siegel pants. And it doesn't say where the actual shop is. Though,
no,
right? Yeah.
No, I know.
But I would assume that it's probably in the States because it's an English slip here.
The letter of.
I'll have to ask John Little because John Little has all the Daytimer records. So
that'll be interesting.
Where was he on January 28th,
yeah,
1972?
that would be cool to find out.
Then we can figure out the mystery of where did he buy these pants.
Yeah,
right?
so and then in the back, Linda Lee, authenticates it. She signed the letter of authenticity when they were selling these at the time. So it's definitely a legit, autograph.
$63 for a pair of pants in 1972. Those must have been some fancy pants, right? I don't even pay $60 for pants these days.
Yeah, and they were selling these at the time in the 90s for $500 a receipt for an autograph, which was a good price back then.
Yeah.
And then
what a great way for them to earn some money, man.
Yeah, right?
All the receipts and random things everyone has at home,
they were pretty tight on money back in the days, so they were trying to make money in a lot of different ways. So, and then the third autograph I bought here in Manhattan at a collectible store on 57th Street. I don't have that one with me, but it's just his signature. It's beautiful, and it also comes with a certificate of authenticity, which is important when looking for autographs on Lee.
Yeah, because I've heard that there's some phony ones out there and some self-made ones.
Yes.
And
you have to be really careful, and you need to know where it's from, the letter of authenticity. They could even fake the letters of authenticity now. Yeah. So it's so hard finding one that's legit without getting scammed these days.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Even at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum, which is such a great exhibit, they have a couple mannequins with Bruce's clothing on them, so you can actually see like behind glass, like how big Bruce actually was.
Yeah.
And he was tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, like 27-inch waist, and like you see the clothes on. Like he was I'm also 5'7", same height as Bruce Lee. But I think if I tried to wear anything that was his, I'd rip through it like the Incredible Hulk.
What do you weigh?
So I weigh 165.
Oh, so you're 30 pounds heavy then.
Yeah,
Heavy.
I'm a totally different body
Yeah.
type, right? So it's interesting because they have they'll have his clothes there, and they have some of those membership cards. They have a whole selection of his books.
Yeah.
But there are a couple things in that exhibit which are, I'm not going to say they're not real, but it's not the thing that they say it is. Like they have a wooden dummy there, and then they have a photo, and they're like, this is Bruce's wooden dummy, and they show a photo of Bruce on the dummy, and it's not the same dummy as in the photo. Yeah. And me as a Wing Chun person, I look at it, goes, it's not the same arms, but like maybe it was just represent, like they're not really say. It's weird because there's like a little bit of a gray area, like. Yeah. This is a representation of a wooden dummy Bruce Lee would have used, or are we saying this is actually one of his dummies, right? And I know
that's a good point.
Some Bruce Lee collectors out there, they have a sharp eye for that. They apparently have the Han claw that Sekin had, and then I posted about it a few weeks ago. I said, yeah, because they don't let you take photos at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum
exhibit.
That's what I heard. Yeah. And they have like, you go in there and they have people there like watching you like a hawk. And on second or third time I went to the Heritage Museum, they had the Han, the four-bladed, the final one that not the bear claw, like the four-bladed one. And I saw that, and I'm like, oh, it's Han's claw, right? And I got so excited. I'm like, oh, and I told one of my students who was with me, and he's like, do you want a photo of it? I'm like, oh, you can't take a photo in here. And then at the end, he took a photo of it while we were there.
Oh, really?
Apparently, yeah. He managed to get one of my other students to distract the guard, and then he went in there and took a photo of it. Then he sent it to me, so I had it.
Yeah.
And I talked about it on a recent podcast. And another one of my friends who's a big Bruce Lee collector, he said, oh, it was there? He goes, are you sure? I said, yeah. He goes, can you send me a photo of it? I sent him a photo, but he goes, it's not real. He just he knew right away. Yeah, he knew and he also knew a little bit about the history of what actually happened there. So then even when you have an exhibit, because they do, and I would say 90% of what they have there is legitimate. Most of it's like from Perry Lee and all these like prominent
the big
guys.
Collectors,
the big collectors. But there are like a couple things in there where it's like, it'll say like, where'd you get it? It's from a private collection. Usually when it doesn't say who it's from, it was probably made in Hong Kong.
Exactly. Yeah, they need to spice it up, right? So they're putting the dummy there, even if it's his or not. It spices the whole museum and exhibit up. So they probably do it for those reasons. Wow,
and
that's interesting.
The next item you have here, I actually saw it in Hong Kong at the old Hong Kong fan club, which is not there anymore. This is the Black Belt magazine cover. This is the first time Bruce Lee was on the cover of Black Belt magazine.
Exactly right. Yes.
Talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so this came out in 1967, right? So he made the Green Hornet, and this was the first time that he appeared on the cover of Black Belt magazine. And this was a really, really great magazine at the time that it came out. And they talked about Green Hornets, they called it Kung Fu. Is it real at the time? Because everyone was questioning, how could he really be that fast? And was he really doing the stunts? Because no one has seen this before. When he hit this, the screen and the TV screen in '67, all you heard is that you couldn't see his movements. Yeah. And people think they actually slow down the camera, but the opposite. They had to speed up the camera in order to catch his movements because he was so fast. Right. Otherwise, it would look like a blur. Yeah, sure. So in order to make it look at real time. Sure. So, but yeah, this was a pretty cool article.
Well, it's also funny they say, is this Kung Fu real? And there he is, famous with the nunchaku, which he made famous.
Exactly.
And there he is, which is not a Chinese weapon at all. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's great.
This is amazing.
Yeah, that's something that every Bruce Lee collector has to have in their collection. Yeah, so, Alex, we need to make sure we find you one, man.
Yeah. Well, it says it's only 50 cents. Can I give you 50 cents for it? It says October 1967, 50 cents. 50 cents. All right.
There you have it.
I'll pay it. I'll pay it twice that amount.
There we go. I'll take $1. For you, Alex, I'll take $1.
Perfect.
Yeah. So those run a couple $100. You could probably find these. I mean, in mint condition, I've seen these go for $600, $700, $800. But in a good to very good condition, maybe you'll get them for $300-$400. So you could pick them up, but they're a couple $100 now. And then the other magazine, which I just love, again, because it's pre-death, and anything that's pre-death while he was alive was the other time he appeared on the cover of Black Belt.
I saw both of these magazines at the...
Oh, they were both there?
They were both there at the Hong Kong Fan Club, which is not there anymore, in Mong Kok in Hong Kong.
Wow.
And I saw both. I was there with my wife, and they were selling them, but the price they were selling them for, I was like... it was one of those things. I looked at her, and then she looked at me. I'll have to say though, my wife is actually pretty accommodating when it comes to me going like, yeah, can I get this? Because she knows I really like this stuff. But it was just like, it was a little bit too much, and she just kind of gave me that look where I go, I can get it, but I'm gonna pay for it later, right? The real price comes afterwards.
Exactly.
Right?
So yeah, this was this was the article he wrote that just slammed,
free yourself from classical karate.
Yeah,
the famous
exactly.
article. Yeah, liberate yourself
from classical karate, and he just slams the traditional karate, and that's when he starts. First time he promoted his Jeet Kune Do, and he talks about it.
He's
in
got
here.
the mustache, which
The
is
mustache.
rare. Bruce was one of the rare guys who could pull off just the mustache.
And just cool Adidas
Look at that.
sneakers
Such a
and black
badass.
sweats. Like, who did that back then?
Such a badass.
In '71, no
Incredible.
one.
Incredible.
So yeah, this is a cool issue. I just love these two issues, two of my favorites. And then as a kid, you get into a lot of the Hong Kong magazines, and Japan started putting out cool memorabilia. But I used to get a lot of my stuff in Chinatown in the day because I lived in Manhattan. I grew up in the Lower East Side, and I would just take the red bus down to Canal Street, and you'd hit all the different newsstands,
right?
And you'd pick up gems like this. New martial heroes started.
Sun Mohawk.
Yeah. Every anything that had Bruce on the cover was instant sale. Right.
And so funny, that one I had mentioned to you, I actually tried to get that one on eBay a few months ago because it has an article with my teacher Leung Ting in there.
Okay.
And then I got outbid by some guy. I was so annoyed.
What was it going for? Do you know?
I don't remember. My wife, she usually handles all the eBay stuff.
Yeah.
Because we also sell some of our City Wing Chun stuff on there. So occasionally she'll see something come up, and then she'll tell me. And so that was one of them. And there was also another, because for me it's a pre-death magazine, which is a big deal. And it had Bruce Lee on the cover, and it also featured my teacher.
Oh, that would be great.
So it was like this kind of like a double
That's
whammy.
a great collectible, yeah. So anything with those are great. And these are both pre-death, and this was 72 when he was filming, Way of the Dragon, right?
Yeah,
with
Chuck Norris was in town.
Yep,
Look at that shirt Chuck is wearing. I wonder how much that goes
Look
for.
at that over there. That's a funny one. And then another cover issue, pre-death, which is great, showing him do the
Another
famous
new martial
sidekick.
hero,
New martial hero.
At Golden Harvest Studios.
Yeah, so these are great to have as part of your collection. And then, some of the other magazines you used to find in Chinatown were just these. And we used to call them Chinese magazines because they didn't really have a title.
Right.
And you never knew where they came from, and you couldn't find a date. But
yeah, and usually a lot of those are just kind of one-offs.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, literally the cover.
They're just so unusual looking, and they always use some rare pictures on the covers.
Oh, yeah, look at from some of the TV appearances.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really a shame that his TV appearances, they didn't really survive because they often would reuse. So what I heard is they would often reuse a lot of that film and just record over it. There's like one of like where he's kicking on Hong Kong TV where he kicks the boards. But that's someone had filmed that with an 8mm off the TV screen.
Yeah.
But none of those survived. I mean, you only have the only TV interviews, the Pierre Burton interview. And
right.
But I would love to have been able to see those Hong Kong ones, to hear him speak in Cantonese, because the first interview he gave was the one that kind of bothered some of the local Chinese martial art guys because he was a little bit critical, and I would love to actually hear in his own, I would love to actually hear what he said,
I searched for years for those, the footage on that, and, I found some of the original footage that was filmed by that Super 8 camera, right? And at the time they were asking $500,000 for it. Now it's all over eBay, right? But it's very blurry, and Brandon goes on the show with him, and he's performing, punches and kicks, and it's just incredible. But then there's some clear footage of him on the Hong Kong TV. I don't know if you've seen that, where he's kicking the board and he's doing the 1-inch punch.
Yes.
And it's as clear as day.
But they don't have they don't have the rest of it.
They don't have the rest of it.
They don't have where he's talking.
Where is it?
He gave about 6 or 7 interviews during his time in Hong Kong. And I can, for me, I just, we have so much Bruce Lee stuff available, but, we don't have one single interview he did in Hong Kong, and he talked about all sorts of things. It's just he did one with Bob Baker, he did the one with Chuck Norris and Bob Wall, and even within a couple weeks of his death, he had done an interview right after the Lo Wei incident that same night.
Yep.
Would love to see that one.
Absolutely.
And I think the most bittersweet thing about one not being able to see those is at the time of Bruce Lee's death, he was scheduled to do the Tonight Show.
I know. Johnny Carson.
Imagine
that.
Yeah. There's so many things that I feel, with his untimely death that we were robbed of. And one of those things would be to see Bruce Lee on Johnny Carson.
That
How
would-
amazing would that be?
That would have been incredible.
Yeah, absolutely
Because
incredible.
when I saw Brandon on Johnny Carson, I was blown away. Before Brandon passed, and just to
Wasn't
see
it? I think it was Jay Leno.
Oh, Jay
Was it
Leno, right, at
right?
the time, yeah, because when he took over Johnny Carson's
Yeah.
role, and that was amazing. But to see Bruce on an American talk show
Would have been
would have
amazing.
just been.
Yeah.
I think he was, he was too big for this world, man.
Yeah.
Just to think of what he would have become.
Right.
It was almost like he was too big for where he was about to go.
Yeah, he didn't.
was-
He just didn't fit.
He didn't fit in, man.
Yeah,
It's so strange.
Yeah, it is. Also, just think how incredibly was one. Okay, yeah, he was born in the States, but he essentially grew up in Hong Kong.
Exactly.
Came when he was 18. He had a Chinese accent, but he spoke amazing English. I
Yeah.
mean, when you listen to his word choice, his cadence, the way that he spoke when he did the interviews, I mean, what a phenomenal person.
Unbelievable how he spoke. I agree with you. What
All
else
right,
do we
so
have
what else
here?
we got here? Oh,
So-
we got some salacious stuff here, I see. Scandalous stuff.
Scandalous stuff. So I got.
This seems like the scandal pile right here.
Yeah, exactly. So when I saw this magazine, this is a very rare magazine. It came out in the early '70s, and this is when they were claiming that Bruce, had Betty Ting Pei as his mistress.
Yeah,
and
this
they-
is Ming Bo. They're still
Yeah.
Ming Pao. They usually go
Yep,
by. Yeah,
and they put her on the cover with him from Enter
Right.
the Dragon, and the whole magazine.
Yeah.
It's all in Chinese.
And
but-
I love the Photoshop where it looks like she's laying in front of him, but clearly, like Betty's from a photo shoot, and the other one is from Bruce Lee's Golden Harvest Studios office, right?
Yeah, and they photoshopped her in because
Yeah.
they knew it would sell, right?
Yeah, of course, of
and
course.
you rarely see this around, but again, this is the whole scandalous time of.
Yeah,
And then she
definitely.
made a lot of those exploitation films, which were so
Yeah,
tacky
she made
at the time. and-
Bruce Lee and I or
and
whatever. She did that.
They
for-
were so bad.
She did that for Shaw Brothers, but
Yep.
Shaw Brothers didn't actually really put their name on there because they were afraid of a lawsuit from Raymond Chow.
Yeah.
So although it was distributed by Shaw Brothers, they had like kind of a shell corporation that actually distributed the film.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when Celestial bought the catalog of Shaw Brothers, that was in the catalog because Shaw owned it.
Ah,
but at the
okay.
time it came out, they made it seem like it was made from an independent film house because Shaw wanted to get a little bit of revenge on the fact that Bruce Lee had not signed with him, but he really wanted to get revenge on his former employee Raymond Chow.
Yeah.
And that's also why in that film the actor they did a very seedy portrayal of Raymond Chow in there because Raymond Chow was his ex-employee who stabbed him in the back.
Yeah,
And so I
exactly.
think he was a little afraid of lawsuits. So that's why it was a Shaw Brothers movie, but not really a Shaw Brothers movie at
Yeah,
the time.
those were so tacky at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even watch them, man.
Yeah, and
for a
also
while.
we talked earlier about the Bruce Lee exploitation. People ask me like, "Oh, what's your favorite Bruce Lee exploitation?" I go, I don't watch those.
Yeah.
I can't watch those.
Same here.
And I think Bruce Lee is the only iconic person whom, after their death, imitators made films with the idea that they were going to pawn that off as the original one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine after Elvis died, if they just kept making Elvis movies with someone, Elvis Presley, but maybe just L-Y instead of L-E-Y, like whatever, but they just pawned it off like, no, this is
Exactly.
Elvis,
Yeah.
right? And they were really playing on the fact that most Westerners didn't really know how many or how few films Bruce Lee had made.
Exactly.
So when they would come out with new Fists of Fury, they literally thought it was, another Bruce Lee movie. They didn't know.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a testament to just how
Big.
uneducated
Yeah.
the American audience was that they bought it
I
to
know,
a certain
I know,
degree, right?
yeah. But also a testament to how big he was that they were looking for this,
Sure.
someone to replace him, right?
Yeah.
Because the demand was there and people wanted more, but you
Yeah.
couldn't. We didn't have more.
Somebody asked me once what I thought the worst of all those Bruce Lee exploitation movies were, and I told them, Game of Death. So it's not the Bruce L.I. or the Bruce L.E. I think the biggest exploitation of Bruce Lee was the late 70s finishing of Game of Death.
That
right?
was so disappointing.
So, I mean, we sat through, an hour and a half movie to watch that final 10 minutes of
minutes.
footage, right? Now, the interesting thing is, had they just made that, if Bruce Lee had made that film with that story from beginning to end, it wouldn't be a bad movie.
Right.
And had they made it with not Bruce Lee and not trying to be Bruce Lee, it's an interesting, like, intrigue and tries or whatever, but the way it's done, and as a Bruce Lee collector looking at these things and seeing that opening scene, he's looking at the mirror and, like, they have the cardboard cut on the mirror.
Come on.
And like the one scene from Enter the Dragon where he's like, "You have offended my family. You have offended the Shaolin Temple," right? And then they just like drew the towel around the neck, and you're watching this, and you're like, "What?" Even as a child, I was like, what is going on here, right? And the fight with Bob Wall, and it's Bruce Lee, then it's Yun Bu, then it's Kim Tai Chung, then it's Bruce Lee. And that scene where he beats Bob Wall is especially schizophrenic because you have essentially 3 people playing Bruce Lee. You have one, the old footage of Bruce Lee. 2, you have Kim Tai Chung, the Korean actor who was playing him. And then for the flips and the aerials, it's Yun Bu.
Wow.
And then there was another actor in the film because Kim Tai Chung, who was the guy who mainly played the Bruce Lee double, he couldn't speak any English. So if you remember in the Game of Death, there are a couple tight shots where he's speaking English.
Yep.
That was yet another actor who looked like Bruce Lee and spoke English. Another actor to do the fighting. Another actor to do the acrobats. And then occasionally footage of Bruce Lee. They had 4 people playing Bruce Lee in that film.
I get angry when I watch that movie because, first of all, it was disrespectful to Bruce Lee to put out such a sub-quality after he was trying to go for the ultimate quality in everything he did. And then Robert Klaus and Chow get together and put such a cut-up type movie on him. I can't even watch it. I watch Warrior's Journey when I want to watch Game of Death. I watch John Little's Warrior's Journey. That to me is the epitome of what Game of Death should have been.
Should have been, yeah, absolutely.
I can't watch the Game of Death any longer.
It's also super crazy. Like Raymond Chow, who was always really big on trying to quell all the conspiracy theories, decides to finish a movie and then put all this stuff in with the triads trying to kill Bruce Lee. As if it's like kind of an FU to everyone about like, no, Bruce Lee is the only man to die of aneurysm from taking an aspirin. Forget all those triad theories and stuff like that. By the way, we're going to make a movie where he dies because triads are trying to kill him. Right? It's so like, oh, come on, man. Like, Raymond Chow is a very shrewd businessman.
Yes, he is.
And, but he had a nickname in Hong Kong, which was the Smiling Tiger. And that is not actually a positive nickname in Chinese.
So what does that stand for?
Because it means like he's like a tiger who will eat you, but he'll kind of smile to your face.
Look at that.
So it's actually a euphemism for someone who's extremely vicious, but can hide it very well in public, right? But I never met Raymond Chow, and to be fair, all the people I know who met Raymond Chow said that he was absolutely charming.
Really?
Yes. So
they have it.
No one said that he was anything like that, but he did have a nickname among some, and of course, his feud with Bruce Lee was kind of well known. But whether Raymond went out of his way to kill Bruce Lee or whatever doesn't really make any sense. But
yeah.
So anyway, what else do you have here in the in the salacious pile?
So I bought a few other things. Some of the other magazines that I really enjoy are these 4Cs Weekly.
Yes.
Because these are very vintage and
large format.
Yes,
too.
Exactly. So these came out again in the 70s, and these are very, very rare because they were printed on really cheap quality paper.
Yes.
They didn't survive very long, but the covers were just absolutely beautiful of these, and they were very unusual looking. It wasn't your common photo of Bruce. And this is when he was in
candid.
the TWA.
Oh, and there's the famous belt buckle knife.
There it is.
Yeah,
look at that.
It is.
And so these are really, really good. And this is a pre-death one from '72. So this is a super rare one. With
Are the other ones pre-death?
No, they were like 76, 75, 74. But this one's 72. And this is a Game of Death issue where he's doing the flying kick to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right.
So this is very rare. These go probably $300, $400, $500 a magazine. So again, just really, really high value on these.
When you look for stuff, is it mostly eBay now or what?
Yeah, I get most of my stuff on eBay if I'm going to look for something that I want to pick up. But I don't really look for that many things any longer. I just have so much stuff now over time. If I find something that's really vintage and I just have to have it, I may put a bid on it, but I have so much now.
Right.
It's hard for me to find something I don't have.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have so many items. But I like the new figures that they come out with now.
Right.
Like the Enter the Dragon figures by Enter Bay. And
I saw you guys unboxing one of those on your show.
And those are really cool because they're different. They're three-dimensional. You can really display them nice. They look great in collections because a lot of these, in the heydays, I used to have these stacked in my drawers, so you really couldn't enjoy the collections. And now these days, collectors have them in beautiful glass cabinets, and they try to make.
We have a mutual friend, Hector Martinez.
Yes.
And Hector's he has it's like a museum at his place, right?
Yes.
I was at his old place where basically he had hijacked what should be the dining room,
exactly,
and turned that into a display. But he's since moved to a new place. And I heard that it's now even bigger, like his setup there.
Yes, and he convinced his wife to give him the living room So he converted the entire living room, and I call it a Bruce Lee gallery.
Wow.
He has all 4 walls.
But at your place, so when you shoot those videos, that's at your place, I assume?
Yeah, I'm in the basement of my house.
Okay.
And I created an office.
So you're relegated to the basement in
Yes,
your house. So
yes.
you're definitely not getting the living room.
No,
right?
no. So I didn't get the living room. I'm in the basement. It's my man cave, and that's where I film the episodes that I
Sure.
do on the Bruce Lee Collection YouTube channel. So I have a lot of my things displayed, but I also still have a lot of my things in storage.
Got
so
it.
eventually I like to display more of them because you could appreciate the items more when they're on display, like in a museum.
Right.
So
right.
that's kind of cool.
So 2 questions.
Yep.
And the first one's an item that you tried to get that you really wanted that you couldn't, that you got outbid on or whatever, the one that kind of broke your heart. What was that?
It was the Enter the Dragon black cat suit in the Heather Holmberg auction.
Ah.
Yeah, I wanted that more than anything because
Where he goes underneath,
Yeah. So-
now in the movie it gets ripped, right?
Yes.
So, but were there 2 different cat suits, like a non-ripped one and then a ripped one? Because then he has it around his waist.
Yeah, I heard it was a one piece similar to that one, and you get in from the back. And when it got ripped, I think he just tied it around his waist. So I'm
Right.
not sure if there was 2 different ones, but
Right.
when they were auctioning the one off in the catalog, it was a full one piece suit, with the zipper in the back. And they claimed it was the original from Enter the Dragon, and that just kind of.
How much was it going for at that time?
I think it was $8,000 to $10,000 back
Okay.
in the '90s, and someone bid on that. Probably a Japanese collector because these guys spend
Sure.
hundreds of thousands
They
to
come
get
in there
original.
and spend their newspaper money on those things.
So I
That's
got
nothing.
outbid on a lot of those things. The blue kung fu outfit he wore in Into the Dragon.
Jeff Chin got that one,
which
right?
is a big collector out of California. He won that.
Have you
and,
met him?
Yeah. I met him a couple
Nice.
times. Yeah, I mean, he was actually over Hector's at one point when he came to New York City, and we all hung out together, and we kind of shared
Interesting.
Bruce Lee stories and collections. And
that's great.
He's a cool guy. And so that really broke my heart. And then I also liked the Chief Aim, and that was won by the restaurant back there with Bruce Willis and Arnold and Stallone, Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, that's right.
So they
I
won
think
that.
I actually saw it at one of their locations.
Yeah. So that was almost impossible to win that because
Yeah,
you were
of
going
course.
up against some big bidders.
Sure,
but
sure.
so that was it's always hard bidding on items because even like the drug letters. I mean, those went for $10,000, $15,000.
That
now.
auction, is that finished? That auction?
Yeah.
And so were they all sold?
The majority of them were sold. You could actually go on the Heritage Auction site, and it shows you the prices of all the letters that they sold.
Wow.
And they're 10,000 and up. They all went for. Yeah.
Wow.
They sold a lot of those Bruce
Wow,
Lee.
Bob Baker's daughter must have made a killing.
Oh, they must have made a couple $100,000, if not $500,000 on
Yeah.
50 letters. If everyone won for $10,000, that's like $500,000.
Yeah.
They must have made a killing on that.
So probably, so that kind of brings the big elephant in the
Yes,
room.
it does.
So a few weeks ago, I did a video when these things came out. So these things came out on auction.
Yep.
And it was a series of about 50 letters between Bruce Lee and Bob Baker, although a few of them were also from Linda to Bob.
Yes.
And a couple of them were also after the death from Linda to Bob. And obviously the big revelation in there, we all kind of knew that Bob Baker was some kind of drug supplier for Bruce, but I think no one really knew to what extent.
Right.
And it seemed that Bob Baker had was kind of supplying Bruce Lee with a lot of stuff that we didn't know. And that was like a huge revelation. I decided to do a video on this and kind of read them out there. And the response was interesting. It's kind of my biggest video on this channel. So now I'm known for cocaine and kung fu. The other day, someone wrote the Coke Fu Genius.
There we go.
And so, so obviously, you're a collector. This thing was on an auction. There were a number of comments from people who said, "Oh, the letters are fake" and stuff like that. For me, I don't really take that too seriously because for me, it's like, there are like 7 stages of grief, and one is denial.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think for a lot of people, they don't want it to be true, so that's like kind of an instinctual thing. People are pointing to inconsistencies in the handwriting, which I always thought was kind of funny because they were pointing to one letter where like, look at his handwriting in the letter where he talks about he's being high on coke.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I've never done coke. I can imagine if I did, my handwriting wouldn't be top shelf. And also a couple of the PSs and some of the letters were actually written by Linda.
Yeah.
So what's your take on all of this stuff?
Yeah, I get asked that on my YouTube channel all the time.
By the way, are the letters fake? As a Bruce Lee collector, what do you like? First of all, these things get authenticated by the auction house, right?
Yeah,
I mean, is it reasonable that somebody faked 50 letters in his handwriting and decided to, create this narrative that, like, you know.
I actually got the auction catalog with all 50 letters in there.
So the letters are in there.
They're in here, and I looked at the letters, and just from being a collector and having autographs on Bruce Lee and seeing his signature and handwriting, to me, the letters are real. So
Sure.
I wouldn't say they're and I don't think the Heritage Auction House is such a creditable auction house in Manhattan. I think they authenticated them. I don't think they would be selling bogus letters that weren't Bruce Lee's.
Where was the location where they're... Because I know they have a location in Manhattan, but I also know that they have something in Texas. So where were the letters actually being sold from? Do you know? Was it here in New York?
I believe they were here in New York on 57th Street. And
I should have gone over there and seen
that's where the auction house took place, and that's where they were auctioning off the letters. But in my opinion, I think the letters are real. I read through the letters. I think you did a great job on your channel explaining. And I thought,
it wasn't easy, to be quite honest.
And to be so even keel in both sides of it, I think you did a great job.
Thank
you. I tried to let it rest, but I get people.
Yeah, you said people are asking
commenting
you, and that's
all
not
the
really
time.
my channel. I can kind of talk about, like, I do Kung Fu, I do Wing Chun. Hey, let's do a collector's episode. Sure, no problem. You're a little bit more specialized in the collectible stuff, right? But people ask you, right?
Yeah, they want to know my opinion of how it affected me knowing that Bruce Lee did cocaine.
Right.
And so they're like, so what's your opinion of the letters? What do you think? How does it make you feel now, right? Because, and to me, I wrote on your channel how I felt, and, I'll tell the people how I feel. I don't think it diminishes anything that Bruce stood for.
Sure.
I was a little shocked, like you, when I heard he did cocaine, because we heard about the hash, we heard about the weed, and we knew that from the autopsy, and that's what they found at the time, and that's what they were looking for, right? And we heard that he did that, right?
Right.
But the cocaine was a little shocking, and then the mescaline, some of the other psychedelics, the other stuff. But you know what? It was the late 60s, early 70s, and who wasn't doing that back then? And not to say it's right or wrong, but Jimi Hendrix, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, everyone dabbled in it.
Wait, Elvis did drugs?
Really? So whether it was right or wrong, I'm not here to talk about that, but to me, does it change what the guy accomplished and stood for? Absolutely not, man.
Yeah.
All he did in 32 years, 20 childhood films, all the TV shows, Marlowe, Longstreet, Here Comes the Brides, then he makes the 3 movies.
Creating a martial art, teaching it, having his own legacy.
How do you do that in 32 years and accomplish all that and get so good at what he did?
Sure.
So to me, it doesn't change how I feel about Bruce Lee. I still think he's the greatest of all time. And he's an inspiration to hundreds and millions of people around the world.
Absolutely.
He'll always be an inspiration and guide to me. I mean, I directed most of my life living according to Bruce and studying martial arts, keeping fit, eating right, nutrition. I mean, he inspired me and millions in so many positive ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
To kind of tarnish that because he did some cocaine.
I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't because of it. Yeah.
Exactly. He inspired us in so many positive ways. I tend to look at that side of it. So, I don't.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because now I've had a few weeks to kind of because basically when I did that video, that when did we shoot that, Mikey? We shot that on a Thursday.
Yeah, it was.
And I heard about the letters on that Sunday, so it was all super new, and I decided to maybe get ahead of everyone and do something first. So I had read the most salacious of all the letters first, but then I basically just read all of them there, and we cut it down to 33 minutes. I think the original one was over an hour because I kind of went through every single letter.
Yeah, you did a good job.
So you're kind of seeing me in live time, kind of like seeing this stuff. So obviously since then, lots of comments. One thing I found about our audience is they're extremely knowledgeable about drug pharmacology. Like, no, this is this.
Exactly.
I'm like, my audience, ladies and gentlemen, right? So I think, because some people were like, oh, why are you making such a big deal? But I'm not making a big deal. I'm literally just reading the letters, right? I think the big deal about it is that I think you might feel the same way. When you've spent so much time following someone, looking into all the things they do, being so into it, but to have a pretty big aspect of what was going on behind the curtain not known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then suddenly you find out about it.
After 48 years.
After 48 years. People can't keep a secret for 48 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
All right? Let alone
That's
48
what was
years.
shocking.
That's absolutely shocking. It's shocking on a couple of things. Like, one, that after the videos came out, it was like, oh, I knew he was doing drugs. Well, we knew about, like you said, the weed and the hash. No one knew about the cocaine.
No.
But suddenly the videos come. Oh, I knew about the cocaine. I knew about the cocaine. By the way, there are lots of people who are commenting who claim that there's a photo of Bruce Lee, multiple photos of him with a Coke spoon around his neck. Tons of people are like, oh yeah, well there's that photo where he's got the Coke spoon, which is apparently I had to Google it because I'm like, what does a Coke spoon look like?
Does he have that black shirt on or something?
I don't know, but it's a very tiny spoon apparently. It's like a really tiny spoon. Right?
Yeah.
It's. Oh my God.
Yeah, we got our resident expert right over here.
So I've heard. Right? So what you do is you have it, and you can actually it unscrews.
Yes.
Right? So basically, what you do is you unscrew it, and then you put it into the jar or the bag or whatever it is. And you just go boom, and then you can screw it up, and it's very, very surreptitious. Like you're not going to get. No one's going to look at it and go, oh, that's a Coke spoon.
Got
I'm
it.
not letting you into the club.
Got it. So apparently, because it came up in the comments a bunch of times, that there are photos of Bruce Lee where he has a Coke spoon around his neck. Now, I've seen a lot of photos of Bruce Lee. You've seen a lot of photos of Bruce Lee. I'm going to task our audience because my gut reaction is I don't believe it right off the bat because I don't think he would be that obvious about it. This was a well-kept secret after all. But I could be wrong, and I'm open to being wrong. So I'm tasking our audience out there. Find the Bruce Lee Coke spoon photo and post the link and send it to me, okay?
I would love to see that.
I want to see it.
Exists,
I want to see
because
it.
I in all my 48 years of collecting, I've never seen anything that looked even similar to that.
Yeah. And we all know about his behavior in the last 2 years, which we can also chalk up to the fact that he was 31, 32 at the time that he became this huge star. I'm now 43. All right. I'm now 11 years older than Bruce Lee was at the time of his death.
Yep.
11 years ago, 12 years ago, had I suddenly been hit with the level of fame that he had, I don't necessarily think I would have gone to drugs or something like that, but I don't know if that would have brought the best of my personality out.
Right.
So I think people don't understand. You know, in hindsight, you look, oh, why was he like this or whatever, and you can say that as you get older. But I think that it's not easy to be that age and to suddenly have all that fame thrust upon you. And to know exactly how you would act. You know how you say you would act looking from the outside. But being on the inside is a different thing. And I think people forget, one, his age. But I do think that the cocaine use does explain certain things about his erratic behavior, like the incident with Lo Wei and things like that. And that's the thing that was like, oh, this maybe actually answers a number of questions for us. I think that was the shock more than we're not judging him for doing it.
Exactly.
It's more we understand now.
And the other big question and clarity it adds is to the death of Bruce Lee, right? Because now it puts a different spin. Like Matthew Polly almost needs to add another chapter in his book. Saying,
he tweeted when this came out, he goes, what a nightmare for any biographer.
Exactly, because now...
This comes 4 years after his book.
It makes more sense of what was going on with Bruce. He removes the sweat glands. He may have died of heat stroke, as Polly says, right? He had the headaches, which may be caused by cocaine, right? Because you did
cerebral
some research
edema,
cerebral
breaks
edema,
down the blood-brain barriers,
and that's what they claim he passed away from. So that almost puts some more clarity into maybe why he passed away.
Sure.
So I look at that more and go, oh, that makes more sense.
It definitely explains the weight loss. It definitely explains his somewhat paranoid behavior, carrying a Derringer around, having the belt buckle blade. You know.
It's starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together, right?
But again, also think about it. I mean, people say, oh, why was he carrying a gun? Why was he doing this kind of stuff? Like, well, first of all, the cocaine could explain a little bit of that paranoia. But having been to Hong Kong many times, you can imagine if you're suddenly like the big martial arts star, especially at that time, you got kind of a bullseye on your back.
Absolutely.
And Hong Kong's kind of a wild place. And I think people forget, they go, well, because sometimes people go like, why would a great martial artist need a bodyguard? Well, because that's what you do for a living. And you don't want to have to punch a dude in the face to go to the restaurant.
Exactly.
Like, people don't understand. Like, even if you were the baddest fighter in the world, you really want to have to beat people up all the time just to go get a sandwich?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, that's why people like that have a bodyguard, you know? And so it's very difficult to say what aspects of what was going on in the last few years were because of this or because of that, but it definitely makes the picture... You know, you always feel in those last couple of years, you're looking through a tiny hole into a box, and now with these letters, the hole's just a little bit bigger.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yeah.
And I think that it helps to explain quite a bit there. So interesting, but pretty wild, like thinking that are we ever going to really know about Bruce Lee's death, or is anything new going to come out about Bruce Lee? And suddenly these letters hit, and it's like, whoa.
Whoa, I know.
Crazy.
I know.
So
Does
you have
it
a couple...
tarnish how you feel about him?
No,
not a bit.
No, I mean, at first I was a little disappointed,
Right.
Because you know, for me, he like for certain aspects about fitness and things like that. You know, I look up to him, like, you know, like John Little has the book with those weight training regimen, and I train in those things as well. And so it's kind of like a little bit like, you know, why would someone who's really that worried about, you know, his health and fitness and his look be doing something that's so negative? But then, again, you have to realize it was a different time. And people didn't quite understand what the long-term effects of these things were. And also, I mean, it's literally the last... I mean, we can surmise that the cocaine use happened around 71. That's when it started, just based on the letters. It didn't. I have to look at them again. I don't think really he was asking for coke in 1968, 1969. I don't think so.
No.
So we're really talking about a 2-year period.
Right.
And we're talking about the 2-year period right up to his death. It's not a long time.
No.
It's not like you know, people were saying, oh, is that where he got all his energy through his whole life? Like, no one said he was doing coke since he was 6.
Exactly.
Right? If you look at the letters, it's literally the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I was initially a little bit disappointed until I realized that that was my ego about what I thought about him.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with the reality of what it is.
Exactly.
And it took me about a week to kind of get over that initial shock and go, yeah, well, I guess that's what he did.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you notice now,
Yeah.
it's almost so blown over, you don't even hear about it anymore.
Yeah,
And it's like
which I'm
almost-
upset. I still want people to
I know,
watch my video.
I've been looking at your views, and they kind of
They're
not
going-
going up
they're
as
going like
fast.
this. I
But,
saw that arrow going like this, and now it's like...
and now it's like, okay, and now it's old news now again.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
and,
old
and
news.
I don't
It's
think
old news.
people are gonna think anything differently about him.
Yeah,
you know?
just wait
So-
until the next batch of letters comes out.
Exactly,
The next big
exactly.
revelation.
So yeah, no,
Bruce Lee
that's,
had a prosthetic leg.
Exactly, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
The prosthetic leg letters, who knows? So you got some stuff here from Enter the Dragon. I think
Yeah,
this
I
is
have
what
a
the
few other
last group
items.
here.
I'll just go over these last few items I brought with me. You know, Enter the Dragon's my favorite film. What's your favorite Bruce Lee film?
I like Way of the Dragon because it was his baby.
Got ya.
But I like it only in Cantonese, like in the original.
Okay.
Because in the English dub, it doesn't make any sense. Because
Okay.
the original thing is he's speaking Chinese,
Yep.
and everyone around him doesn't understand him in Italy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like him having to like, hey, can you translate for me? And when it's
Yeah.
dubbed in English, I always thought as a kid, like, why is he always going, hey, you tell him? I'm like, you're just right there. Why don't you tell him? Because in the original one, he's telling him in Chinese, so he could translate it to the other guy in English, right?
So it makes more sense when you watch it.
It makes a lot more sense. The humor makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
And also, it's one of the few movies where he actually has a bit of a character arc. Because in most of his movies, he's kind of just the same badass from beginning to end. He has to adapt in his final fight against Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
And then the next movie, Enter the Dragon, he's just badass Asian James Bond,
Exactly.
right? He gets a little scratch at the end. Okay,
Yeah.
big deal, right? You had to give the old man a weapon to get a couple scratches on
Excellent,
Bruce,
yeah.
right? But Enter the Dragon is it's like for me, it's like Way of the Dragon and Enter the Dragon are kind of like this because Enter the Dragon was the first one that I saw. So it was the one that made me fall in love with him. And then as like a Hong Kong nerd, because his other movies were mostly shot in a studio, when I go to Hong Kong, I go to the places where they shot that. So like you can't, Golden Harvest Studios doesn't exist anymore. You cannot see the sound stage where they shot you know, any of the other movies, but you can go to the tennis courts from Enter the Dragon. You can go to Chingsan Monastery for the finger pointing away to the moon scene. The monastery for the opening scene where he fights Sammo Hung. You can go to that place.
Yeah, you can still see a lot of those
You can
places.
see a lot of the exteriors.
Yeah.
So I still feel like the movie's still kind of alive in the zeitgeist of Hong Kong. And it's also great because you really see the potential of Bruce Lee there in a big budget American movie being awesome.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, I mean, it shot him into superstardom, man, overnight, that movie. It was just beyond belief. So the reason I brought these items is because as a kid, when you collect, right, collecting is all about reliving some of the experiences and memories that you had of the past, and it kind of builds up this really excitement inside of you again, right? So when you look at this stuff, I kind of get all excited, and if you ever see me and Hector together, we're like little kids again.
Yeah, my wife says that. She's like, the two of you are like kids.
We like regress to 13 years old.
Yes,
because,
yes.
And I brought some of these items because I remember going to the movie theater. I grew up in Manhattan, on Lower East Side, in a tough neighborhood, and I used to watch this on the Jefferson Theater and the Academy of Music on 14th Street, right here in 3rd Avenue and Lexington Avenue, are my two movie theaters that I went to as a kid. And in the heyday, in the 70s, they decorated the movie theaters up. I mean, you would go there and you would look at the... you'd
have
look
the
at
lobby cards
You'd have
and
the
everything.
lobby cards in the lobby. All 8 was shown over there. So this is the original set of the Enter the Dragon lobby cards that I remember seeing in the big glass
Wow.
displays in front of the movie
Wow, and look,
theater.
even there, they have the line with him sliding down and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so these 8
cool.
lobby cards are beautiful, and I picked these up just to remind me of what you experienced as a kid in the theater. And then obviously if you own the one sheet of the Enter the Dragon poster, I mean, this was just phenomenal, and I have mine in mint condition. I bought this back in the day at convention halls for like maybe $15, and I bought a number of copies. But these in mint condition now go for like $1,500, $2,000
Wow.
because this has become an iconic movie, right?
Yeah, and that's the original poster.
Yeah,
right
and
there.
you used to see this hanging in front of the movie theater from 1973. I don't want to open it all up now.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And they came folded. So people say, oh, but doesn't that take away the value? No, because the rolled ones, if you buy them rolled now,
Yeah.
and they're rolled,
Yeah.
those are reprints. You can get those on Amazon for $10.
Right.
But they used to fold them because when they mailed these to the movie houses back in the day, it used to come with this, the lobby cards.
Right.
You used to get this press book, and they would give the movie manager this whole kit. And it would show them in the press book the ads they were going to see in the newspapers, how they were going to market the movie, the little desk stands, and all that's in this press book with the synopsis of the movie. So the
Incredible.
movie house knew how it was going to be marketed and what they were able to display out
Wow.
there, right? And then, this...
What a different time.
Oh,
for
man.
films. I miss that stuff.
I do too.
Yeah.
And so you don't see that. And then this set, not many people have seen this set. So I got this set when I was like 15 years old off a trade with a guy in my neighborhood whose dad worked for a production company at the time that Enter the Dragon came out.
Wow.
And he came to me one day, and we used to do Topps baseball cards. I really wasn't into baseball, but I just did it because it was fun playing
Sure.
cards as a kid. And he was really into baseball cards, and he goes, hey, Charles, I know you're a big Bruce Lee fan. I have this Bruce Lee set of 35 Enter the Dragon black and white stills. And anytime
Wow.
you see stills with the slugs at the bottom
Yes.
and the serial number, I mean, they're original.
Wow.
So Warner Brothers put this out as a complete set, and you have John Saxon here and Jim Kelly and all the Bruce movies in there in crystal clear black and white
Yeah, from
glossy
the original
photos
prints.
from the original
Yeah.
prints with and you used to see these in front of the movie house as well. So
Wow.
this set really gets me excited. I've never seen another complete set of 35 since all the years I've been collecting. I never see it on eBay. I never see it on Amazon. I don't see it in other collectors' collections. So it's a pretty special set to me. This is kind of what connected me as a kid to Bruce, right, in the day,
Yeah.
right? You studied Wing Chun, you made that your
Sure.
lifelong passion.
Sure.
I dabbled in that. I didn't take it to the point like you, where you opened up a school and now this is your
Right,
career.
right.
It's kind of similar to what Richard Torres did, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everyone's touched upon Bruce in a different way, right?
Yeah.
You with staying in the martial arts,
Right.
Me collecting, and he inspired me to be into fitness and health and wellness. I studied that in school, and that was
Right.
all inspired by Bruce Lee, right?
Right.
And getting into great shape and
Yeah.
studying the martial arts, but not committing my life to it.
Yeah.
And then I did some JKD for a number of years with Ted Wong, and
That's great.
that end of it. And I met Dan. I did some seminars with him. So
That's cool.
I got my share of Bruce, right? And it's kind of
Yeah.
what kept us going all these years, and you still get excited to this
Yeah,
day, which
that's
makes it
great.
so special after 48 years, man. So
So I said I had 2 questions for you. I'm
Yes.
going to ask you one. I'm going to ask you the last question.
and then I have a gift for you
Oh.
that I'd like to present for you as well.
Okay.
So shoot away on your questions, and I'm going to give you a gift.
All right. So my last question is this, okay? If money's not an option, what's the one Bruce Lee collectible you would want to have?
Wow, what a great question.
Yes.
Money's not an option.
Yeah, it's not a problem. You can get whatever you want, right? And it could be something that has been auctioned before, maybe something that has not, just something
Yeah.
like, what would that one thing be?
I would love to own the yellow iconic Game of Death tracksuit. You know why? Because no one knows where it's at.
Yeah.
And everyone wants it, and I've seen fakes at auctions,
Yeah.
and people spend hundreds of thousands, and then they realize it's not the
Right.
real deal.
Yeah.
Where are the 3 Game of Death yellow tracksuits that he wore in Game of Death?
He had 3 of them.
I think
on
there
the
was
film?
3.
Right. One with the footprint.
One with the footprint, one without. Where are they?
Right,
What
right.
happened to them?
Yeah.
Did they just throw them out? So to have that would be like the holy grail of collecting.
Yeah, I think
that
you're right.
I would love with his yellow Game of Debt nunchucks and his original Asics sneakers.
Yes.
And to put that on a mannequin and just put it in a big giant display,
Right.
I would be a happy camper, man.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Man.
that'd be cool too. Well, from what I heard on the Hong Kong side, Raymond Chow kind of just trashed those.
Is that what you
things.
heard? That's what I heard
I
too.
think they threw all those things away, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
In hindsight, I think at that time they really didn't know what Bruce Lee was going to become.
Man.
And yeah, it's crazy.
That's
Wow.
insane. That's insane. So, yeah, so I have a little gift for you. You know, as a collector for years and years and years, everyone always asked me to share my collection with them, and it's hard to pull out 5,000 items and show people, you know, what you had. So in the 90s, I started putting together some really high quality catalogs on Bruce Lee just to show people what my collection consisted of. So I put an 8-part series out, and I printed these catalogs, professionally done. I paid for it with my own money, and I scanned in over a 3-year period, you know, 5,000 items on my collection.
Wow.
And I still have copies of these 2 left. This is the number 2 I put together in 2001. It shows almost 400 items in my collection on Bruce Lee. And then I put out catalog 3 featuring him on the Game of Death, which shows another close to 800 items in my collection for
Wow.
everything from magazines, DVDs, posters, lobby cards, movie stills, you know, the books, the Green Hornet stuff, displayed in chronological order, which shows collectors what they collect and can find out there in the
Sure.
orders that came out. And it took me, it was a lifelong passion, and I did this over years. So I still have a few of these left. I like to kind of give these to you.
Oh wow!
So you can
Thank
enjoy
you so
these.
much. This is incredible.
Yeah, so
Wow,
those
thank
are
you.
came out in the, like I
So
said,
cool.
22 years ago, 21, and I think you'll enjoy those as a Bruce Lee fan and a collector as well. So
Absolutely. Thank
that's
you
my
so
gift
much.
to you,
I
man.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Thank
no
you. Well,
problem,
this,
man.
This was a lot of fun. I
It
look
really
forward-
was.
Hope we do this again sometime. Maybe we'll get Hector around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
You're
for coming.
very welcome, man.
Appreciate
It was a pleasure being here. Thanks for inviting me, and I had a lot of fun here today, Alex.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed that enhanced podcast on the Alex Richter show that we put together a few years ago. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, show your appreciation that you really enjoyed this enhanced version, and stay tuned for part 2, which we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks. And for those of you who are new to the channel and haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss that new episode that we'll be putting together shortly. And until then, as always, Charles Damiano saying, have fun collecting, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys.